to another edition of the Pagcast. So today I'm going to be interviewing the varsity head coach and the senior football head coach of this year, Mr. Hogan. But before that, I'm going to read off the recent scores of all the Hayden athletics. So the Hayden Junior Field Hockey team wrapped up their season, losing to Nelson in the finals, which is unfortunate, but they win the silver medal. The Hayden Senior Field Hockey team beats Nelson to be crowned the Houghton champions. The Hayden Junior Football team beat Iroquois Ridge in straight sets to improve their record to 6-0. Nelson completed a sweep of Hayden by beating the seniors 49-20 and the juniors 38-0. The juniors are up against Garth Webb later today at 3:30, and the seniors play at 2:30 at Garth Webb. Come out and support your junior girls basketball team as they play Georgetown October 23rd in their last home game of the season. Hayden is looking to sweep the season series since they beat Georgetown 38-21 back in September. The Hayden Junior basketball team also lost to Garth Webb 40-28, and they fall to 4-3. They are currently on a 2-game losing streak. You may also want to come out and support your junior football team on October 23rd when the team takes on Craig Kilberger in the last game of the season. So, Mr. Hogan, what compelled you to become a teacher?
Well, first and foremost, I had a very good, positive high school experience myself, and just looking back at that, I know that I was impacted by a lot of different teachers. I was a student at Burlington Central High School, and not just coaches, but at the same time teachers in the classroom. I think it's a very important profession, and the opportunity to work with adolescents, teenagers, day in and day out in a variety of different capacities is awesome. There's never a day where I feel like I'm going to work. I feel like I'm going to work and get better myself, and hopefully help others develop. So at the same time, it kind of all my passions mixed into one. But from an early age, I knew that I wanted to get involved in this field.
And why did you move from Burlington Central to Hayden?
Well, I was a student at Burlington Central.
Okay.
And then I started my teaching career at Nelson.
Oh, Nelson, okay.
I was there for 2 years, and then when the opportunity came and when Hayden was opening, I was fortunate enough to get on staff when the school did open, and I've been here ever since, hope to be here for a long time. And it's been great to see the culture grow and develop, not just from an academic standpoint, but from a school culture, whether it be arts, academics, athletics, etc.
So if you could give one piece of advice to aspiring teachers, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing is that one thing that I've learned, this is my 8th year now, you're never going to get to a point where you're going to know everything you need to know about the job. I think that's like most professions. There's always something that you're going to improve on and work on. I really related a lot to sport, and the reason I do that is I'll take a player like Sidney Crosby, for example. He's an exceptional player. The reason why he continues to get better every year is because he identifies an element of his game that he can improve on. And I think myself and other teachers try and do the very same, is to continue to learn, grow, and develop, and understand that you can always improve in your given field. So
who's your favorite superhero as a kid?
That's interesting. I think right away the answer that jumps out is Batman. I actually was pretty into Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was little, and then Power Rangers came out in '93 when I was about 6. So those are the 3 that jump out. But Batman, if I had to pick a superhero, he's probably the most compelling. And the reason I say that is he's, Superman's obviously got some elements to him, and he's assisted a little bit. But Batman's just a dude, and he turns into this unbelievable vigilante of the night. It's crazy.
So why did you become a coach?
Coaching is one of my favorite parts of the job, hands down. I think that, like I said, I had a lot of positive experiences with coaches that I had growing up. I find that, having been heavily involved in sport as a player when I was younger, it's a natural progression to get into coaching. And like I said, it kind of goes hand in hand. The best coaches are teachers first anyway, trying to help people not just on the field or the field ice, whatever it might be, but off it as well, and just to continue to grow and develop that way. But I certainly look forward to game day in any type of season, whether it be football, hockey, or lacrosse here at school. And it's the thrill of competing, really, and trying to take a team from the beginning of a season and see how far they can progress.
So have you always played hockey?
I've played hockey since I was 4, and it's interesting. Hockey's my favorite sport, hands down. Sorry, but I played from 4 till about 9, and I really didn't have an interest in it. I kind of went to the games, practices, things like that, but I wasn't overly thrilled with it. It wasn't until I started playing goalie, and that's when I actually felt like I was contributing to my team because I was just brutal as a player.
Probably a fourth-line bench warmer as a player.
Yeah, not even. So I didn't have a real interest in it until I became goalie, and once I kind of enjoyed the position and was getting better at that and focused on that, that's kind of when things changed for me. I started watching the NHL. Really in 95, 96, so when the Avalanche won the Cup, I remember that Cup run being the first time I really paid attention to it, and then from there I was kind of hooked. I was into the stats and standings and followed it. But that's kind of where it got started. So then once I became goalie around age of 9, that's when it picked up, and then that turned into kind of my passion, my focus athletically growing up.
So did you play hockey in university then?
I did in university. I played last level of competitive hockey that I played was midget AAA here in Burlington.
Right.
And then when I went to university, as many do, that kind of stopped, and I continued to play in intramural, and I still play now Tuesday nights with some success, varying degrees of success, but it's still fun.
So what other sports have you played or are interested in?
In high school, a traditional season for me started with football in the fall, and then converted into hockey. And then I also played a little badminton, mixed that in, and then finished with baseball in the spring. And then outside of high school or school in general, I play hockey in the winter and baseball over the summer months.
So name your favorite NHL hockey veteran and explain why.
It's hard to say. Really, I kind of like an old school player who's a good two-way guy that can compete, is physical, and can contribute offensively and defensively. When I think about it, probably... I obviously love goalies, but if I had to pick like a player, I'd probably pick a forward. And I have a lot of time for Sid the Kid. Like, I think that guy's phenomenal. Obviously, there's lots of up-and-coming players, but as I mentioned, in an earlier answer, I just think that his game continues to just get better. And even watching him last night, for example, he's still so fun to watch. And just watching some things behind the scenes, just in terms of the work that he puts in. He could have, really been just mailed it in and been like, no, I'm good. Like, this is how good I'm going to be. But he continues to just get better. A natural leader in different ways, and can play with kind of any combination you put him with. So he's had a lot of success with wingers you've never heard of, and now you know who they are because of who they're playing with. And his two-way game is quite strong. And I think that that's important. And that's one thing, as I mentioned, when I was a goalie growing up, you know a lot about the position. You don't necessarily know a lot about the X's and O's of what the forwards and B's are doing. And he certainly pays a lot of attention to that.
So, do we really need to discuss what your favorite NHL team is?
We can debate that all day long, Pegs.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good debate after Kadri. He kind of sauced one in his net last night. Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate getting shut out.
It was disappointing, and I knew I'd be on the Pagcast today, so I knew I'd take some heat for that. But you know what? Having been a Leaf fan, and you've seen a lot more success than I have in the last couple of years being a Habs fan. Just with certain runs, it's been challenging, but we're just excited. We're enjoying the moment. 6-2 after 8 games, can't ask for more. We got a lot of areas of improvement, much like other NHL teams.
Like the defense.
Potentially, but you know what? As a unit, they're doing an okay job. Offensively, obviously, Murray played real well in the breaks. Really, a lot of scattered play last night. But you know what? You're dealing with a Pittsburgh team that's taking a look at Toronto and saying, these guys are legit, and they brought their best game as well.
So you mentioned that the Leafs are 6-2. Could they have been 8-0 with William Nylander?
No, I don't think so. I think being 8-0 at some point in the season is a little unrealistic. We have to keep in mind that the best team in the NHL and the worst team in the NHL, they're obviously going to be degrees of separation, but they're still all professional hockey players, and night to night things are different.
Right.
So, it'd be nice to have Willie, and I look at it this way. We're 6-2 without Willie.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what could happen. We throw him back in the lineup,
Still on the second power play line without Matthews.
It's a pretty scary second power play, though, if you ask me. So, the first power play unit's kind of like the movie Halloween. It's spooking everybody out.
So do you think he'll get signed at some point?
It's hard to say because I don't recall a situation in Toronto where we've had holdout like that. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know December 1st is the key date for that in terms of what's going to happen long term. It'd be interesting for Willie to get some media attention to see kind of where he's at. But obviously, one big thing I realized watching sports when you're a lot younger, you ask questions like why wouldn't he sign? You ask about what kind of team guy he is, but you also understand like the NHL's a business.
It is a full-on business now.
And if you're you have a shelf life in terms of how long you can play, and obviously they make a killer living anyway. But with that being said, you can also if somebody were to say to me, for example, you could potentially get such and such amount of money, that would be something to consider. I don't know if that would be the end all be all. Money's one factor, but it's not the biggest factor for me. But if I was playing in the NHL, would I be open to $8 million? Absolutely.
So would you say that would you sign a team-friendly deal, or would you want to get the money that you're worth?
It's an interesting question too. Like I look at it, a player in the NHL basically has two opportunities to sign a deal. They have after their entry-level deal, and then when they become a UFA. So if you look at Tavares, for example, he's a great. Look at a guy that. I don't know his exact salary, but it probably wasn't exactly what he was worth before he signed in Toronto. Now he's getting buckets of money.
Yeah.
And he's in a real good situation. So it ultimately depends. It's difficult too. If you were to ask him, he would probably want the guys to sign because that's kind of what he signed up for, but he's already got his money. So it'd be interesting. What I would want to do as a young guy is I'd want to go and chase a cup. As an older guy, I'd still be wanting to win cups, but I'd probably be looking at what kind of money can I accumulate at the same time as I'm ending my career.
So then what's going through your head when you see the Leafs are top 5 in goals against?
An area to be cleaned up for sure. If you look at anyone that's won the cup recently, clearly you can get in those tight 2-1 games, 3-2 games. Playoffs are a different story too. Watching the Leafs on a Monday night against the LA Kings is a little bit different than watching them in Game 7, where the stakes are high against the Boston Bruins. So,
which they'll lose. Let's not forget that.
Well, Boston's a very talented team, but at the same time, you have to shore up defensively and you have to play a good system in order to have success in the NHL or at any level. So that's something that they'll have to continue to work on. With that being said, they can basically go toe-to-toe with anybody, and we saw that in games like Chicago already. Montreal, and that was a 3-2 game. So they've kind of shown everybody that they can play kind of any style. They can go 7-4 with Dallas. They can go 5-3 with Detroit, whatever it might be. But right now, the goals against, as a goaltender, having played in the past, I always like to keep my number at 2 and below if possible, like most do. Anytime you get to 3 and above, and anytime you get to 5 or 6, you got to be able to clean that up. The McElhinney Sparks debate was interesting.
Yeah, I thought McElhinney should have made the team.
I think so too, but there's more than you and I know, and there's more than their plan. So you got a guy that's 10 years younger. Sparks needs to play better, I think, than he's shown to date. I think he played a little bit better on Monday, but I think he's still got a better ceiling or a higher ceiling. But you know what? McElhinney was a great pro, and it's nice to see him have some success in Carolina.
So how surprising to you is the Leafs' hot start to this NHL campaign this year?
It's not surprising necessarily, but it's nice to see because you have the big signing in July 1, and then you kind of just want to get going. And, Matthews has been out of this world. I think he's been fueled by everything. Marner's looking as good as he's ever looked. And I think it's, you want, it's difficult when you're connected to the team. So I'm a Leaf fan, you're a Habs fan.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for me to look at, let's look at the NBA, Golden State. It's easy for me to say that they're unbelievable, but I'm not one of their fans. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what their fan perspective would be.
Yeah.
But no, it's a nice start.
So why are you excited about the new varsity team this year?
I love when the hockey season kicks off. It's great. I just think I had an opportunity to play high school hockey myself. It's a great mix of a competitive element of hockey, and then having an opportunity to play with guys that you go to school with, day in and day out. Every year, every team in our loop has an opportunity to be crowned HWSAA champions, which is great. We've seen different winners over the course of time, and I think it's just a real fun. I like what we've been able to put together Ms. Stevenson, Mr. Wielden, Coach Plord, and myself in terms of what program we offer with the 3 tournaments that we run every year for our guys and regular season games. And like I said, it's nice to have that connection between student and athlete and represent the school playing the best game in the world.
So how did you start your double bubble routine?
With the gum?
Yeah.
Actually, that started... I was at a tournament. I was with Stevie, and then we were coaching at Nelson at the time. We were at a tournament, and I just wanted some gum, actually. And we went to... They had kind of like the 25-cent machines with the pucks.
Yeah.
So we actually, for whatever reason, I think put in 25 cents and just a lot came out. And so we all just kind of grabbed like a handful of it. And for me, I like it in game because it kind of keeps me at ease in a way, like as opposed to depending on the situation. So part of it's that reason. Secondly, I like the flavor, although it goes away pretty quickly.
That's why you pop 3 a game, right?
Yeah, I do 1 per period, and then I typically do 1 in the warm up, 1 period 1, 1 period 2. I usually end up with 4 by the end.
Oh my god.
4, sometimes 5 if I'm feeling good.
So, what do you look for in a player when they're trying out for a sport you coach?
Coachability, I don't know if that's necessarily a word, but coachability in terms of are they willing to take some feedback. And I know as a teenager too, looking back, that's something that comes with time because you always want to hear positive things. It's not negative things that you're hearing, it's areas of improvement or it's ways to continue to get better, because I think that's the ultimate goal is to continue to get better every time. Guys that are accountable and take care of the expectations that we have for them. So that would include, showing up to class, being a good citizen in that class. You don't have to get a 90% in that course or whatever it might be, but you need to be a good, valuable contributor and positive. And you know what that's like being a student here at the school. And then just, in terms of the overall effort, and one of the biggest things I learned as a coach is that ultimately your players are going to dictate what type of success you're going to have. The coaching staff will always have, visions in terms of where the team wants to go, but the players get them there. So guys that understand that. One principle that I read in a book was a 10-80-10 principle. So essentially, if you look at a group of 20 players, for example, there's going to be 10% of that group that's already locked into whatever your culture is. So that would be 2 guys of your 20. You'd have 80% that are kind of in the middle, that could go one way or the other. And then 16 guys, and then the other 2 guys are not necessarily going to be contributor members or positive contributors. So that's something that we always try to do, is we try to swing that 80 over to the top 10.
So how hard is it to coach when it's just not your day? When the calls aren't going your way, when the puck's not bouncing away? How hard is it?
I think the biggest thing from there is to make sure that you carry yourself in the way that you want your players to. And then just having an understanding that every experience that you have in sport is an opportunity to learn from and to try and look at ways that you would approach it maybe a second time around. We've had some games too where you learn a lot. You learn as much as a coach as you do as a player. So it's just you try to keep your guys at ease the best that you can, despite the circumstances, all while understanding probably how they're feeling.
All right, so what can students expect from the Huskies varsity team this year?
We're gonna have a lot of hustle, a lot of compete, a lot of good energy. I think we'll be able to fill the net pretty good, and I think we'll have a pretty well-rounded group. We're in that process, as you know, right now. But I think we have a really good mix of guys that are going to buy into the program, a lot of returners, a lot of new guys. But certainly a competitive team that's, again, going to get better over the course of each month, each game. And hopefully we ride into the playoffs in February at the best point of our season.
So I was wondering at the end of our interview, what's one question I should have asked you?
You should have asked me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I enjoyed the questions, actually. I thought they were really well done. I think one comment that I will make is you and I have talked about the Pagcast and things like that. I think you've done a great job with it so far. And I know that you're passionate about sport, you're passionate about the media element of sport. And I think that I know that those that are listening to this future Pagcast to continue to do so, because just speaking on Michael's behalf, he's doing a great job, real dedicated to it. And I look forward to one day turning on the radio or turning on my TV and being like, I know that guy. And I think that's going to happen at some point for you, Mike.
So I'd like to take this time to thank Coach Hogan for joining me today for a tribute to Coach's Corner. And we like to also encourage all the students to come out and support the Hayden Husky athletes. Lots of action on the sod with ladies field hockey and junior and senior football teams, and on the courts with the basketball and volleyball. And soon, Husky varsity team will be lacing up to shred some ice in your local arenas. Until next week, it smells like hockey and I love it.